a new wave of corporate activism is going on. Previously, there were a lot of corporate activists, guys like Bill Ackman, and there have been a lot of activist investors in the hedge fund world who would take public positions for publicly traded companies, and then they would just want the board or the company to change a certain direction or behave in a certain way. But those asset managers would be playing with like hundreds of millions of dollars or like few $1 billion, rarely in billions for activism. But one of the biggest news that this world saw last week, not last week actually, earlier this week, was an individual, Elon Musk, taking almost 10% of a publicly traded company called Twitter. It's a little bit unusual. I mean, CEOs or wealthy people in general, they have taken some sort of acquisitions like this. For example, Jeff Bezos, he bought out Washington Post, and it's not because of a lot of business that really comes out. I mean, do you really believe that Jeff Bezos makes a lot more money in Washington Post than he makes at Amazon? No, right? But it gives them a certain degree of influence, and while they always argue that it is not, it's not their machine to push the PR and certain narratives, but it often is. So yeah, I mean, Bloomberg's media company criticizing Bloomberg is very highly unlikely, right? Jeff Bezos' media company, Washington Post, is highly unlikely to criticize anything about Amazon or Jeff Bezos, right? What is different in Elon Musk's case? He has bought something that is social media. It is not. It is really not a traditional media in a way that he cannot tell all the people in Twitter that, hey, don't write anything against Elon Musk or against SpaceX or anything that he is part of. What is different is this, that I think he has taken it more of like a biggest activist approach, in a way that I think he's going to push for a lot of open source software there. So for example, Twitter, Facebook, they have pretty much all the tech companies, they have always made this excuse that certain things are just done by algorithm. Well, that's frankly just like flat out not true. Algorithms are as good as you design them, and there's a lot of bias that you can put in algorithm. You can make it the way that you want, and you can always argue that is how it works, but essentially you have given essentially you have tried to put your or like your team's mind in the algorithm designs, right? So it's never completely unbiased. But what is really happening with Elon Musk actually pushing, most likely in the future, is, and he has given some indication in the past in his Twitter feed, is that he would push for open source software. So maybe he will push for, like, what sort of algorithm are you guys using to suppress certain kind of speech or maybe certain kind of content. How is, if the algorithm is one, then algorithm should look for the same kind of word or messaging or content and take exact same actions for different kinds of individuals or different types of individuals or different individuals in general, right? But in Twitter's case, 70% of his followers believe that is not true. So if that is not true, maybe that just led him to see, like, maybe there's a bigger action behind it. And while it may not be his immediate intent to make money out of Twitter really was not a great business anyways. So I read an article in Wall Street Journal that soon the stock price might go down because it's really going up because of Elon Musk factor, but essentially the business is not that great, the underlying business, right? But if he's able to make the business operate in a much better way, then that will be reflective in the stock price itself. So who knows? I mean, a lot of people did not believe in Tesla. A lot of people did not believe in SpaceX, but it's Elon Musk, and things might take years and decades, and things might be very different. So again, too early to tell. But with Elon Musk's involvement, this has definitely sent a shock wave around the world in corporate activism. That I mean, Elon Musk, if he really wanted, he could have really just bought out Twitter just right outright, right? I mean, he has the money. This is one guy that who really doesn't care much about like whether it is a billion or whether it is 10 billion or whether it is 50 billion. So he could have done it. He has his own reasons, but that definitely puts a check for all the corporations in the world that, hey, you know what, there might be some guy just watching, and things could turn out to be very different. You wake up in the morning and then you find the news that your company has been bought out by some guy that you did not anticipate, and he is the largest shareholder. That's a very different kind of news to hear if you work for Twitter, or if you are an employee of Twitter, or if you are management or board of Twitter, right? That's a very, very alarming news to wake up with. So again, this is a very interesting news, and I think this is just the beginning of a different kind of activism. And don't be surprised if someone like Elon Musk, or someone who is very business savvy, but at the same time they also have some sort of very different kind of views, and what they should do with corporate activism. They might be able to just put together large SPVs, and they can just buy out or at least take an influential position in some other very big companies. Visa, MasterCard, Google and Facebook. Facebook not so much, but Facebook, Google and Apple, they're too big. But once you start putting together SPVs of billions of dollars, you might actually make them behave in a very different way. So again, this is too early to tell, but looks like that this is a new era of corporate activism. And a lot of hedge funds and all those people who have done previously, that's like a peanut in front of what Elon Musk has started doing. And things will be hopefully better because of his activism, and at least he is putting a check that, hey, you know what, nothing is completely you could just do whatever you want. So things will not be as such. All right, that's just my thoughts for today, and looking forward to catching up again soon with a different kind of topic. Thank you for tuning in.